Good morning. It's Monday, February the 22nd, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. And the prayer of the day is from the daily declarations for spiritual warfare. And this is called, I will stretch out my arm to deliver you. There is no other like me among all the heavenly beings. I am mighty, and my faithfulness surrounds you. I will crush and scatter your enemies with my strong arm. I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of your oppressors. I will free you and will redeem you with my outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment. I will stretch out my right hand, and the earth will swallow your enemies. With my unfailing love, I will lead you to my holy dwelling. Terror and dread will fill your enemies, and by the power of my arm, they will be as still as a stone, and you have passed by in safety. Prayer declaration. No one has an arm like you, Lord, full of power and might. Your hand is strong, and your right hand is held high. You will stretch out your arm and deliver me, and rid me out of all bondage. Let fear and dread fall upon the enemy by the greatness of your arm until I pass over. Favor me and let your right arm bring me into my possession. Amen. Excuse me. My name's Ron, and this is The Drill, and welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. So over the past couple of days, I've been speaking about ambiguity and the equivocation on the part of the right and sometimes on the part of the left, but particularly on the part of faux conservatives. And what I want to touch on today, this morning, is the fact that the left is unambiguous about the way it communicates. So it insists that the right be ambiguous and be equivocal and ambiguous, at least in terms of its values and in terms of its goals. The left will use ambiguity in term to try to rattle you. They will try to ambiguity and equivocation to go ahead and get you rattled. Actually, it's a way of trying to hold or pretend to hold a mirror to the conservative and show them the universe as they pretend that it is. You and I are going along being sure of ourselves. We have certainty of knowledge, and then they come along and show us what they claim is a mirror of ambiguity and equivocation, challenging us, in essence saying, well, if everything's so certain, what about this type of thing? But as far as their goals, their values are concerned, there is no ambiguity, there's no equivocation. They follow your dreams. Do what you love, and the money will follow. Never give up. There's no qualifications to any of those statements. There's no qualification. So that leads me to an example, a real-life example I found of how the left is just so evil in our world. An individual that I used to work with years ago, he was in the business I worked in, he was the brother of the owner of the business that I worked in, and we'll call him Al. And so Al was a salesman. We were all salesmen. We worked as salesmen for the company. So Al was functionally illiterate. That means he might have been able to read a stop sign, but that's about it. And he was 25 years old. 25 years old, and all he can read is a stop sign. He can't read anything else. And we used to tell him, we'd say, hey, Al, you can go and take lessons, adult lessons, and learn how to read. I don't believe that he actually had a high school diploma. I think he probably dropped out of school, but I'm not sure about that. So he's functionally illiterate, and he had written on an account card, one of our accounts. He wanted to say, let people know that whoever was servicing the account, that he doesn't like the tape that he had purchased. And what he wrote was dot, lack, tap. 6-year-olds could do better than this. And he's 25, but whatever. So one day he had told us, I think we'd asked him, well, what are you going to do with your life? And he said that his ambition in life was to be a pimp and a drug dealer. So the evil part of this comes in is that the left encourages him. The left says, do what you love, the money will follow. Follow your dreams. Never give up. That's what the left has to offer to him. Unequivocally, unambiguously, no qualifications. Okay, so how do you talk to somebody like that? How do you go to Al and try to explain to him, no, you can't do that. What you need to do is get your act together, go back to school, get a high school diploma, learn how to read, learn how to do whatever in mathematics and history and whatnot, and then go out and live a happy life. When you've got the left that is subverting our culture and telling him to do as he pleases. Do what you love and the money will follow. And what he loves, it was being a pimp and a drug dealer, sex and drugs. He wasn't so much into rock and roll. And he was a guy that went ahead and he came into work one day and he had boxes of Bic lighters and Bic pens. And he showed up and he was selling them. Want us to buy these lighters. Well, we all already had lighters, those of us that smoked. And again, how many lighters do you need? How many pens do you need? Then we asked him, what's up with this? Why are you selling pens and lighters? And he explained to us that he had gone and broken into a convenience store after it closed and robbed the place and burglarized it. And he didn't steal money. He didn't steal anything of any great value that he could go out and fence, so to speak. No, he stole boxes of Bic pens and Bic lighters. And the reason he did this, his reasoning was that it's 100% profit. He can go around and sell them, and everything that he makes goes right into his pocket. Not realizing and not stopping to think, how many of these pens or lighters am I going to have to sell in order to be able to make decent money? You sell the pen for $1, that's 100% profit, but it's only $1. Never occurred to him. So then he figures it out, of course, the hard way when he's selling these items. And first of all, finding them very difficult to sell because everybody's already got a pen and a lighter. Why do I want to buy one from you or get an extra from you if I've already got? Right? He's imagining this is going to be easy. He's going to sell out these boxes of pens and lighters, and he's going to be, I guess, if not rich, then certainly much better off than he was before. So, wrong answer. He finds out the hard way. So, what does he do? Instead of, again, realizing crime doesn't pay, he goes back to the same place to try to burglarize it again. I'm guessing this time maybe he got smart, at least smart enough to figure that he's going to go ahead and try and get the cash out of the register or something. But in any case, he gets caught, arrested, prosecuted, convicted, and put in, I believe he was put in county jail. Yeah, he did. That was a time when, because it wasn't his first time brush with the law. But why did he do all of this stuff? Because the left tells him follow your dreams, do what you love, the money will follow. Never give up. Never give up. And they don't make any exceptions to that. Okay? So the next time somebody is saying, follow your dreams, ask them, does that apply to criminals? Does that apply to car thieves? Does that never give up? Does that, again, apply to criminals? Does that apply to car thieves? Does that apply to other types of criminal activity? If at first you don't succeed, as soon as you get out of jail, you go out and reoffend because you should never give up. Your dream is to be a successful criminal and create some type of a criminal enterprise. Is that what you really should do? You should follow that dream. You should, if that's what you love to do, is breaking into other people's automobiles, do what you love and the money will follow. That's what you should do. But again, they're unequivocal about it. They're evil about it because they don't make the distinction. They don't use good judgment when they say these things. But that's, whenever you hear those statements anywhere in life, that's the left speaking. Very often they say, never give up, and it's usually in reference, well, not reference to me, but it is coming out of the mouth of somebody that's suffering some type of debilitating disease. Don't be fooled, though. They're not qualifying it either. They're not saying, if you're a cancer patient, don't give up. If you're suffering from Parkinson's, don't give up. They don't say that. Okay. So they're unequivocal about it, and they are evil. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Influencing people, particularly children, to not only make mistakes, not only to do the wrong thing, but to stay on the wrong path and to stay on that path forever. That's why I like to say, when people say, never give up, I like to say, you don't have to waste your time. Because it's hard to go out and go against never give up. What are you going to tell? What are you going to say? Well, don't listen to that. Give up. Quit. Don't try. No, that's not going to sell for obvious reasons. And it's not what we want to say anyways. What we want to say is you don't have to waste your time. First thing we want to say is if you're a criminal, you're a burglar, you're whatever, you have some type of criminal intent, you need to get your mind right. You need to rehabilitate your thinking. We need to communicate the fact this doesn't include, is not including illegal activities. All right. And furthermore, as far as getting your mind right is concerned, you don't have to waste your time. Because another part of the evil part of never give up is if you're trying to do something that you're not meant to do. You're 5'5" and you think you're going to play center for the Lakers. That's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that's going to happen. And after you've banged your head against a stone wall a few times, and maybe that's what you need to do to realize that's not the direction you want to go in. Okay? It's okay not to waste your time, to recognize that the direction I'm on is a waste of time, and that I would be better off going in another and better direction. Also, I've heard many people, Hugh Hewitts on the radio, that say, when people call them as young people, and they say, what should I do with my life? And they mimic or ape the left and say, do what you love. And I want to barf. I want to barf. The right answer to that question is, do what God has called you to do. That's the true conservative answer to that question. And it is the correct answer. Think about it. Do what you love. Do whatever makes you happy. It's kind of a hedonistic thing. Well, again, if what makes the guy happy is to be a pimp and a drug dealer, what is he going to do? Whereas if I tell you, do what God has called you to do, Do you think God has called you to be a pimp and a drug dealer? No. So again, the left is evil, but this is the way they influence our culture. And the important point with Al is, how do you communicate to him? How does anybody that's on the right track, that's got their life going in the right way, communicate to him and tell him that what he's doing is wrong? He needs to stop it. He needs to go back to schools, grow up in a manner of speaking, go back to school, get his life back on track. How do you communicate to him? How do you reach him when everything that he hears on the radio and what he sees on television and what he reads, well, he can't read, of course, says to him, keep going the direction you're going. Just learn how to do it better. Learn how to do it smarter. Be a better criminal. Be a better thief, pimp, drug dealer, etc. How do you communicate with somebody like that? And you can't. So culturally speaking, what I'm trying to drive home here is that individuals can and do have effects on our culture, and more direct effect on our culture than we do on our politics. And that it is the right, the conservatives in this country, that should have the greatest effect on our culture, greater effect than the left. And because we respect reality. And reality is fundamentally about limits. There are limits in life, whether we like it or not. And that's the process of growing up and realizing there are limits that I'm going to have to acknowledge and that I'm going to have to live within. I cannot be in two places at the same time. I cannot have my cake and eat it too. Are but two of the limits that make up reality. So, again, we can have and should have, must have, as conservatives, we must dominate culturally. You want to use your imagination and be imagination-oriented on the side as a hobby or something, fine. But the fundamentals is it's guided by and limited by reality. And that's where the fundamentals thing about being a true conservative is being realistic. I'm listening to Hugh Hewitt on his show, and he just got done saying that Susan Collins and Tom Cotton are his favorite senators. And the name that jumped out to me was Susan Collins. And then I thought, well, of course, it makes sense. Susan Collins is a zero, he's a zero, and so zeros attract each other. But he said that he likes these two senators, described Tom Cotton as being very conservative. I don't know, and I don't care, but that he says that he likes these two senators because they're very thoughtful. Well, no, they're not, Mr. Hewitt. You're absolutely and completely wrong. And he described them as being akin to Mitch McConnell. Bad. If you're trying to sell everybody on the idea of admiring Collins and Cotton, comparing them to Mitch McConnell is a bad idea because Mitch McConnell really looks bad. McConnell is a party hack. That's all there is to it. And every senator that sits on any type of a committee or subcommittee is also a party hack. That's not thoughtful. It's not thoughtful to be a party hack. Thoughtful is you go to Washington, and when Mitch McConnell comes to you and says, I've got a committee assignment for you, you say, thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to be a senator at large, and I am going to serve my constituents first. Then the party second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. The party comes behind my constituents. That is thoughtful, Mr. Hewitt. Think about it. So along the lines of the difference between left and right is realism versus idealism. The left wants to be idealistic, perfection-oriented, and the right, the conservatives, the true conservative, is realistic. Now, from the standpoint of framing arguments, we cannot lose. We, the true conservatives, cannot lose as long as we are framing the debates realistically. If we are approaching an issue from the standpoint of realism, we can't lose. Period. End of sentence. Now, the question then becomes, okay, so what? So what you're looking to do then, Ron, is create the perfect, or create a, is to have conservatism dominate, or a perfect conservative world, aren't you? No. If I'm doing... If I'm being realistic, not only am I doing what is best for me and fellow conservatives, I am doing what is best for everybody, the left included. Think about it. So, a real quick aside for good old Hugh Hewitt. Hugh Hewitt, you got to understand, in L.A., you're on 870 AM, which is a crappy station. So much of the time, when you listen to 870, the signal is just absolute crap. There are times in the day when it's crystal clear. And there's times, like right now, in the morning, for whatever reason, where it sounds like you're trying to communicate from Europe or Canada or something. I mean, it's very often I hear Spanish music competing with whatever it is that you have to say. So it makes it very difficult to listen to you. You might want to get with the folks at 870 and try to get that signal. And it's been that way for years. So try to get that signal situation straightened out. So anyways, Hugh Hewitt was, I heard him talking about, was his guest, about children and what they're being taught today. And my thought was, what is the cultural influences here? Because again, everything is foundational. But the problem with conservatives and even zeros like Hugh Hewitt is that they have a tendency to think everything is politics. There is nothing else. That politics is the foundation for everything else, and it isn't. That's backwards. Culture is the foundation for politics. As our culture is, so goes our politics. And that's why we seem to be continually moving slowly but surely to the left as we go along. So what is the cultural impetus for what kids are being taught, especially as far as critical race theory is concerned? And that's parenting. When I was growing up, and I'm doing this as to contrast between the way things were and what's going on now. When I was growing up, if I came home and I said, my math teacher is telling me, having me write papers about my whiteness, my parents would have grabbed me up by the hand, taken me to school, and gotten in the principal's face. What the F are you teaching my child? They literally, no hesitation. Not only me, but every other parent in the neighborhood, every other parent at that school would be over there so fast it would make your head spin. They would probably have to call the police to restore order. Okay. Today, where are the parents? Kids are being taught all kinds of crap. They're being taught about gender, re-identity, or whatever, all that kind of thing. Where are the parents? Gee, what a surprise that our kids are screwed up because our parents won't be parents. Why not? Because our parents today are taught and have been taught since they were kids, since the 60s, to be friends. That you don't want to be a parent, you want to be a friend. Baloney. Hogwash. Your job is to be a parent. That means to bring your experience and your knowledge to bear to help the child. When the kid is asking questions, you need to be a resource. If you're not a resource, then all you end up being to that child is the butler, the cook, and the chauffeur. And then you're going to end up going to school to pick your child up, ask them how their day was, and they're going to tell you to turn around, shut up, and drive. And that's exactly what you'll do. Turn around, shut up, and drive. Don't be that way. You don't have to be that way. Even if have been raising your kid that way, start being a resource to your child so that they can understand that you're not just the chauffeur, the maid or butler, the cook, etc. And that they will look less to their friends for answers to tough problems and more to you for answers to tough problems. You can give them the benefit of your experience, give them the benefit of your knowledge, etc. And also being a parent means, if you have to, you got to go to school and kick some ass. What are you teaching my child? Okay. It used to be the worst of it when I was growing up was we'd come home with dirty words. And then our parents would still get pissed off and call up the school and say, what are you teaching my kids? Why is he coming home shooting off the F word and the S word and this and that and the other thing? What are you doing? And and parents today are laissez-faire. They just let it go because the theory is that the child needs to learn how to be independent. But they're not going to be with that kind of attitude. They're going to become dependent. And the question is on whom? Again, probably on lefty teachers and lefty professors. So, if you wonder why it is that kids are coming home from college and treating their parents like crap, it's on the parents. Okay, the cultural cues that tell you that you should be a friend to your child are crap. They're wrong. Don't believe it for a second. You have a responsibility. What can you do? A lot of Republicans/conservatives ask, what can I do? What can I do? How can I make a difference? That's the biggest difference that you can make today and for the next 60, 70, 80 years is raising your children, being a parent, instilling in them values, not conservative values, not liberal values. There's no such thing. There's no liberal, conservative, Hindu value. There's only values, period. And you instill values into that child. Patriotism. Why is it? Explain to them. Why is it good to be patriotic? Why is it good to be realistic? Explain the difference to them between capitalism/conservatism and socialism, and being biased. Don't be neutral. I'm assuming that's part and parcel of being their friend, is being neutral. Don't. It's the worst thing that you can do. When they come home and they say, I've just joined a shoplifting club, are you going to be neutral about that? Or you say, well, let's go ahead and examine this, or we're going to psychoanalyze it, or are you going to tell them, no, you're not going to be a member of that club, and you better get out of that club as soon as you possibly can, or immediately, and whatever the consequences are. It might be you're going to be grounded. It might also be, guess what, we're just going to move to another school. I read about parents that did that their child kept hooking up with at school, so to speak, or befriending the wrong people and he gets into trouble constantly. And what they ended up doing was moving. I think they had to move 3 times before they could finally get him into a school where he was not surrounding himself with bad people, where he started surrounding himself with good people instead of bad people. That's parenting as well. Being neutral is not parenting, and that's what we're all encouraged to do in our lives, whether you're a parent or not, is to be neutral. Don't be neutral. Don't be a zero. Promote conservatism, promote the values that go along with being a conservative. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about was there's a rumor, and as far as I'm concerned, by the way, there is no news anymore. It just doesn't exist. It's just all rumor, and everything you hear should be considered as such. It's just a rumor. But the latest rumor is a civil war in the Republican Party, and there is no such thing. What the left likes to do in order to exert power is something called an affirmation. They affirming something that they want to happen, affirming something that they think should happen in the future that isn't actually happening now, but they want it to be that way. And the left wants the Republican Party to be in the middle of a civil war, embroiled in a civil war. They want that to happen. So they act as if, they talk as if it is actually occurring. When as a matter of fact, as a matter of reality, no such thing is occurring. Now, we know for a fact also, and reality is a matter of reality, that where there is a revolution going on or a civil war is in the Democrat Party. And we know that by the evidence of our senses and the use of our mind. We have seen it unfolding in the Democrat Party over the past 4 years. We have seen rational, reasonable, realistic Democrats being forced out of the party or marginalized in favor of idealistic Democrats such as AOC. AOC is extremely left because she is culturally speaking highly idealistic. Everything for her is about what's ideal. The perfect is the enemy of the good. So the realistic Democrats, the Nancy Pelosi's, if you will. Nancy Pelosi does a lot of the things she's doing simply to keep power. I'm certain that she thinks that she's the bulwark against the leftward forces in her party, the AOCs. That if not for her, because she keeps, it just amazes me every time there's a new Congress, she's like 80, 90 million years old, but she keeps running to be speaker. And I'm thinking, why are you doing this? Why don't you just go home, retire? Aren't you done? But I don't believe that she thinks she is, because she sees herself as trying to shape her party, and that she does not want to see AOC and other idealists take over the party, particularly in the House of Representatives. But she has to play the political games. She has to give a nod to that wing of her party. But it is slowly but surely the Democrat Party is moving to becoming more and more and more idealistic. And again, the rational, reasonable, realistic people are being marginalized in the party and or forced out. And every once in a while you catch a glimpse. There'll be something played on TV or the radio about where you get to hear the Democrats bicker with one another about, for instance, we got to hear about them bickering with each other about defunding the police, and that there were people in the party that don't want that because if for no other reason it hurts their chances of re-election. So there's a lot of that going on where the Democrats are setting themselves up to shoot themselves in the foot. They're going to go ahead and become more and more radical, and in so doing, they're going to cost themselves politically. They're going to end up destroying themselves, maybe for good. So that's where the real revolution or civil war is occurring, is in the Democrat Party. We know that for a fact because we've watched it and listened to it unfold over the past 4 years. So don't be taken in when people are the rumor mongers come out and say, oh, well, there's a civil war in the Republican Party. They'd love it if there was a civil war, but there really is no such thing. There are people in the Republican Party that are rather, on the margins or the fringes of the Republican Party that want to, every time somebody says something they disagree with, they refer to them stamp them as a traitor, which is an overreaction. Disloyal, perhaps, but they're not a traitor. And so, for instance, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's coming under a lot of fire for what he said about former President Trump, and rightfully so. But that doesn't constitute a civil war. I think, and the people that said that Pence was a traitor, they should get slapped. They should be slapped silly. He is the most loyal, second most loyal person to Donald Trump, other than his two press secretaries. Nobody was more loyal to him than his press secretaries. Pence was second, and he was a loyal soldier all the way. It wasn't until the very end when he disappointed Trump supporters and perhaps disappointed President Trump himself. So the people that want to call him traitors are irresponsible, and again, they should be slapped. But in any case, that concludes another episode of The Drill. Be honest, be smart, and be beautiful. I'm Ron, and that's The Drill.